From the Teddy Belanger studio in Rome, New York, welcome into a special episode of the Avits and Beyond. Just going to do a quick hit video this week to talk about what's been going on in North Carolina. My name's Todd Emanuele. I have Ryan Boyles with me, and Ryan is from North Carolina and has been experiencing all this firsthand down there. And I thought we could take some time for people that want to help, that want to do something to help with this whole situation. There's ways they can donate money and other things, I'm sure, to help with the Hurricane Helene, you know, disaster that happened down there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
So I don't want to mischaracterize. I live in the Raleigh area. So if you're not familiar with North Carolina out there, but you've seen all the horrific, videos and
Mm,
photos and social media, like it is really devastating to the western part of our state. And it is near and dear to my heart. I grew up in the Piedmont Triangle, which is more of the triad, I should say. Uh, North Carolina is a big state, is what I'm trying to say. So I grew up in the middle of the state. They call that the Piedmont. So Winston Salem type area, Greensboro, if you're familiar with those areas. If you're listening, that's dead smack in the middle of the state. And then what you're seeing, the effects of Helene happen to the western part of the state. And so you've seen Asheville in the news, I'm sure.
oh, yeah.
But there's been it was 19 counties in that part of the state that were affected. It's Appalachia, it's the Appalachian Mountains. And what happened, this storm came barreling up through the Gulf. It was category 1. It turned into a category 4 by the time it hit land.
Mm,
Um, I'm no meteorologist, but I did a little bit of research, and the reason this storm has affected Florida and Georgia and now the western part of North Carolina so severely um, is because the rainfall was so intense for such a short period of time,
right.
and this storm intensified so quickly. And one of the other factors was it's been raining in this part of the country for weeks now, so there was already a lot of moisture in the
Yeah.
ground. It's been pretty miserable the last few weeks with just constant rain. Nothing like this storm, but when the storm hit, it was like primed and
Ground
hitting the
soaking wet. Yeah.
yeah hitting the mountains. They're not used to this, right? Like, so in the mountains, they're not used to getting any kind of hurricane type activity, right? It's usually towards the eastern part of the state, actually east of
Sure.
me.
Right.
And then it just barrels off into the ocean. But in this case, all of that rainfall, and we're talking about double digits, 20 something, 22, 25, 27 inches of water came
How fast
down.
did how fast did that come down? I mean, that is
I mean,
unreal hearing those numbers.
less than 48 hours. So,
That's
uh,
insane.
yeah, there's a map. So the little bit of research I'll tell you about is I did post a map on my Facebook. And if you want to look me up, Ryan Boyles on Facebook, you're welcome. But I also put it on a couple other social networks like Threads and even LinkedIn, because I was just trying to
Mm,
explain to people that this rainfall was uncharacteristic because normally we have maps, right, that the National Weather Service does, that in NOAA they put out these rainfall estimates and the river flow, because we have that's a beautiful part of the country. It's a beautiful part of the state, the western part of the state with the mountains, and lots of people go there kayaking to enjoy the nature, the outdoors, the fall foliage, all that stuff. And kayaking and the rivers are a big thing. And so uh, the rainfall estimate, virtually overnight changed. And when you look at the rainfall probability for the river flow, and they call this an EPS map, right in the middle of where it hit, it is like there's a range. And you've heard of like 100-year flood or 50-year flood or 10-year flood.
yeah.
This measurement basically went off the scale, never seen before in history of measurement.
Wow.
And so there was a pretty bad flood in this area in 1916, really devastating. In fact, bad enough that there's a historical marker in Hendersonville where our mutual friends Tracy and Mike Burnett
Mhm.
run the Waverly Inn, and he showed the photo of Helene actually knocked that historical marker over.
I saw that.
When I looked at the map of this EPS estimate, though, 500 to 1,000 year event.
Well,
I mean, think about that for a second.
yeah, no,
And you're
I
not
mean,
you're not just talking about like where you live and where I live, relatively flat. You're not just talking about the 22 inches like hitting you and just sitting there. You're talking about it hitting the face of a mountain and rolling down and
yeah,
going through these rivers that are cutting through places like Asheville or Brevard, or like I said, there's over 25 counties now that are considered a federal disaster, you know, by the government now, that are getting FEMA assistance, National Guard assistance, all kinds of assistance, both from government agencies, but also, and this is the segue, what we want to tell you about, all of you about tonight, is ways you can help, because there's so many organizations that are either collecting goods, collecting money,
mhm.
collecting things that are needed by all the folks that are going to be recovering for quite a while now. There are still 1.2 million people as of this afternoon without power or running water or internet, or things like that. And so it went from like 2.1 million people just 24 hours ago to 1.2. So the crews are out there working. They're doing their best, but this is, you got to understand, these roads and these towns, some of them like Chimney Rock were hit so hard that they may never recover, right? Because buildings were just swept away, homes were swept away. So
Yeah, the videos and
it's really,
pictures are just horrifying that I've seen.
yeah,
I
and
can't
it's hard.
imagine.
It's really hard. That's 400 miles west of us. So when I say we didn't witness it, what I mean is like, that is, the state is really wide, and so 400 450 miles away to get to like a place like Asheville for us, like it rained really hard for a few hours and then it was sunny here, so we were lucky in that respect that Helene didn't affect us. But
Yeah, no.
there are some people in dire need. So what we wanted to do tonight, I think, is show that just a few ways that if you want to help the citizens, or the frankly the small business owners and some of the artists and people that make their livelihood from that area of our state, right?
Mm,
It's not even just people's homes, which are, that is the most important thing, people's lives, but the businesses and everybody that depend on the local economy and tourism, or it's going to be devastating for a while, I think.
yeah, I saw a video of a man, I can't remember where he was in North Carolina, but somewhere on the western part there, just opened up a business like a month ago, put his whole life savings into it was like a bar/music venue type of place,
Right.
and it's gone. Like,
Yeah.
there's it's just destroyed, and he's like, "I don't know how I'm going to financially recover from this. Everything I had went into this, and we opened 32 days ago, and now it's
Yeah.
gone." And what do you do? I mean, it was so sad to see that.
Honestly, that's a good point, because I saw, and I really get fascinated with maps. I talked about the map with the river flow. There's been other maps that talk about the power outage and how wide it is, because Helene at its peak when it passed through here was 600 miles long and
Wow.
400 miles wide.
Wow.
So when you talk about the size of the storm, I mean, it was devastating to, and not just North Carolina, but Georgia is in really bad shape too.
Parts of South
Um,
Carolina
Parts
too.
of South Carolina, right? So um, a lot of these people did not have flood insurance,
Mm,
and so when you talk about living in the mountains, whether you live
yeah.
there year round, or you have a vacation home, or you have a business,
Why
you
would you think of
probably
having flood insurance?
you do not have the same type of insurance that I do down near I'm more near the
Right,
coast than I am the mountains. I'm only 2
right.
hours from the coast. And I do have flood insurance on my house, even being 2 hours from the coast. Most of these people do not. Let This map showed that less than 1% of residents in that part of the state have flood insurance.
Why would
And
anyone
so,
in the mountains think
uh,
to get flood insurance, you know?
well, and you don't think of this, again, this amount of rainfall in such a short period of time. Um,
Unprecedented.
it's unprecedented. And when you talk about the way the rivers, broke their barriers, they got wider, they took out roadways. A lot of the roadways follow the water, in that part of the country, right? You have the
Yeah.
river sort of intertwined with Interstate 40, for example. Interstate 40 connects North Carolina and Tennessee in that part of the mountainous region of the state. And so a lot of those roads, it's going to take, like, they're talking about it taking a year to repair
Sheesh.
I-40, right?
Wow. Well,
Um,
again, I've seen pictures of it, and it's crazy to look at. Like,
it
how
is.
did they recover it? It's going to take a long time.
So let's get into how you can help if you're
Yeah.
listening. Um, there are ways you can help financially. The lieutenant governor, I'm sorry, the attorney general of our state, he is warning people not to sort of like just give money away if you're not sure about what the organization is, or you're not sure where your money's going. But we wanted to give you some of the sort of what we think
Safe.
are solid ones. I'm not going to list 50 different organizations for you tonight, but we're gonna give you ways that you can find out more as well. But first of all, just Red Cross, of course, they're on the ground, they're helping. They have a specific way that you can donate for Helene, and that's going to help North Carolina and every other state as well where they're deployed. And they're doing the good work that they would do to deploy to help folks in need. Another way that you could just contribute financially that's going to go directly into some nonprofits like United Way and some other nonprofits that are organized like under umbrella is the North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund. And this has been set up by the state for you to, if you don't know which organization to give to, you can sort of give to this pot, and they decide some of the agencies that they need to distribute it to. And all of these funds will go directly to Helene at this time.
NC.gov/donate was that one.
That's
Yeah.
right. Real easy to remember. You can Google the name Disaster Relief Fund, and you'll find the official North Carolina site for this, that our governor released in a press release just a few days ago. Samaritan's Purse is another great organization. So Samaritan's Purse, I mean, they are an international relief organization. And
Mhm.
so they have a way that you can literally just plug in and give money, or they help connect you to organizations if you are if you're close by or you want to volunteer your time. They also have a way of helping connect you with organizations that need, people on the ground, or people to help organize maybe in your community to put together, donation sites or ways of collecting some of the goods that they need. So they're great organization all around. Um, the last major one we're going to show is World Central Kitchen. If you're not familiar with World Central Kitchen, it's essentially an organization that believes that food is a universal human right. So this is a big organization, but they have been instrumental to being they're sort of the first organization that will respond in many hard hit parts of the world. So they deploy to you've seen them deploy to Gaza, for example. They
Sure.
deploy to Mexico.
Mm.
They deploy to Ukraine, to Lebanon, to you know all over the place where people are in need or there's a crisis
Mhm.
related to food. They're trying to help. And so they are on the ground. They're in Asheville. They're in Florida. They're in Georgia. And every day they're talking about locations where people there in need can do something as basic as come and fill up your water jugs or get bottled water to take away. And they're also fixing hot meals for the first responders, for anybody who needs it in specific parts of the area. So please help them with the funds that they need to do this. They're also doing reporting. One of the other things that's really important to remember here is like internet, cell towers, everything's gone. And
Yeah.
so a lot of what's needed is not just helping people reconnect with their loved ones, which is a big deal, but also the local journalists that are trying to get this story out and show what's happening. Um, they're doing a great job. So Asheville City Citizen Times, for example, World Central Kitchen, they're actually reporting from on the ground. If you follow these organizations on social, you can see more about it. So
It's great stuff. All right.
we could go on and on and on all night with all the great organizations. Like people are really stepping up, but I know to keep this sustained effort going, like we're very early, right? It's only been a few days. This storm
Yeah.
sort of hit us on the 27th, 28th. We're now October 2nd, and there's still, like I said, 1 million people without power. There's still over 600 people unaccounted for that we know about. And so there's still active rescue operations going on.
Yeah, it's still
There
fresh.
are people cut off. And so any way that you want to help. I also am going to just flash up. This is not for any kind of selfish reason, but if you're looking for more information about another county or some specific way that you want to help, like donate, they need diapers, they need all kinds of things. They need the necessities for both the people that are in the in the counties that are trying to recover, but also the first responders need our support too. So I am going to I have created a highlight on my Instagram page that's called Helene. It's basically my way of like trying to collect the best links that you can
Sure.
that I've reshared in my Instagram story. I'm going to put them all in this highlight to make it really easy for you to scroll through. You can swipe through those on your phone, and if we're going to keep adding them there. There are tons of you probably know this, right, Todd? But Asheville is known for its craft beer, right?
Okay.
Breweries. It's like one of the biggest havens for craft breweries in the country, and so many of those breweries are hard hit and they're closed right now, and they're trying to recover. But many
Yeah.
of the breweries from around the rest of the state are actually trying to support and help the folks recovering. And so there are breweries like the one down the street from me here, Blackbird in Wake Forest. They are collecting and sending things, but they're also bottling. They're using their bottling operations to bottle water and then
All
ship it.
right. Yeah, that's
And
great.
so in Charlotte, Noda, Catawba, there's so many breweries that are helping do those things in the same way that we saw them do these things during the pandemic. They're stepping up now for the storm.
I love it when
Victims.
community comes together. It's awful that it has to happen during disasters all the time
Yeah,
when people actually decide to come together and help each other. But your friends that owned the Waverly Inn, where is the Waverly Inn?
Hendersonville, North
It's
Carolina.
in Hendersonville.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it
Um,
is about, I want to say 20 minutes south of Asheville.
okay.
So
So
I've talked with Mike. Luckily they're fine. I think they're still without power.
they are, but I've heard
Um,
that in the
but
inn
I
they've
think
been housing first
yes.
responders there,
So
which is
they
amazing.
well they were also, I think, housing some media that were visiting, but they've been without power, but they've been trying to give them a place to rest, give them food
Yeah,
as best they can, and it's great to see that happen.
it's awesome. I
And
love seeing that
thankfully,
stuff
like, I
happen.
mean, their inn is like an original, structure from I'm probably getting this wrong, but I want to say 1898. So it's a historic building that they renovated and they run as a functional inn now, and it's a wonderful place to visit, and it's awesome that they've opened up their doors to help people too.
And luckily they can. So that's very lucky that they're okay down there. One of the first things I did was reach out to you when all this happened because I'm an ignorant New Yorker. I'm not sure where in North Carolina was affected the
Yeah, I
most. So
got a
I'm
lot
like,
of
are
those.
you
I
guys
got a lot of
okay?
those messages, and you know what? I
Yeah.
probably confused people because I've just been, like I said, I've been resharing on Threads and X and Facebook and Instagram nonstop just because I want to try to connect people with the resources they need, or if
Right. So
they're,
people think something
you know,
happened to you, but it really didn't happen to
I
you.
had people from Austin and California and all over asking me, whether it be my coworkers or what have you, like how bad we were affected. But
Right.
honestly, my peer manager, at the office who lives in Atlanta, he was without power for several days and his basement flooded. So
Yeah.
in Georgia, like they are affected too. And he was actually, hit a lot worse than we were because we're so far east of where it passed.
Yeah, and I'm sure like in Florida where it first hit, land there, they really got hammered because it was a Category 4 storm still at that point. So
That's right.
just
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's just tough all around.
So it's tough to
This,
watch the pictures. It's tough to
yeah,
see people in need. I mean, there are other. I just want to say this too. It popped in my head because of there's a crisis when it comes to pets and animals as well. So a lot
mm,
of the
right,
shelters that are there and the Humane Society, they are organizing to try to help in that regard, right? So there's an organization that you can help with no matter what you feel is your way of contributing. But um, let's end the show this way. I think I just want to remind people that you can go to my Instagram. I'll keep this highlight going. Um, I mean, the name of your show is the Avits and Beyond. I saw the Avit brothers actually post on their social media um, over the last couple of days, and they put out their own resource list. So lots of people are stepping up, at least to try to communicate the best ways for people to come together.
yeah,
And so that's one resource list you can use. Like I said, I'll share others, and then we just appreciate anything you can do, and we know it's going to be a long road for these folks to feel any kind of normalcy, but we'll get there. We'll get there. North Carolina's strong.
yeah. There you go. Well, Ryan, I appreciate you coming on and doing this. I didn't know what to do this week with the show. I didn't
Well,
want to really play music and
life has a
celebrate.
funny way of coming at you, right?
Yeah, so I think this is good to put this out there for people that want to help and be able to do something. And now they have a start at least to be able to find some good websites, legitimate places to donate money and actually help.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
So,
And so, yeah, goods, money. There's all kinds of things that they
yep,
need. So yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Todd, for letting me have the microphone tonight.
yeah, of course. Thank you, Ryan.
All right, talk soon.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
Bye bye.
Bye.